Caroline, let me ask you this, okay? So I used to work for Deliveroo and I was making £7 an hour and I worked hard. Like we were probably doing like 100 kilometers a day on the bike. And I was brought up, like I think a lot of people listening are, it's like, if you work hard, you will be really successful.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Or could you poke maybe a couple of holes in that philosophy?
So I think that it works to a point. So if you take it as like a continuum, and I know I'll just talk it through because I know your listeners aren't going to see, but go shoulder width apart, and this is one end and this is the other end. So the working hard works till about midpoint. And then the rest is burnout.
Oh, nice.
The rest just leads to burnout. So this is where the working smarter piece comes in. It's that other bit. And that is the bit about it may mean going back to university, being able to charge more per hour. That's where the working smarter piece might come in there. And obviously that's not the answer for everyone, but the working hard, I do believe, is the success ingredient. I don't think that could be argued, but it's to a point. There is a bit on that continuum where it becomes a problem. And take the example you use. You were working hard. So the other end of that continuum, you could have worked harder and harder and you're not actually going to have produced the results that you wanted because you're trading time for money.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, let's work smarter. Is there a way to get your value up? Is there a way to maybe make a passive income in some way? Or, it's just really challenging that work hard ethic. Now, what I find with the business leaders that I coach is that it becomes a problem whenever they're trying to step out of their business to say, take a bit of self-care. They find that difficult because of the work hard belief, because that's in there in the background, chirping away, just telling them that either they're lazy if they step out of their business. But actually, if you reframe how you're viewing this, it's better for your business. So you have a duty to your business to step away and go and invest in the self-care. Because for you to give to others and be the best version of yourself on a Monday morning, you have to fill up your own cup before you can then pour into the cups of others. So the work hard belief, I definitely do see it being limiting to a point. So yes, it will have served and it absolutely could be the driver for someone's success. But it comes to a point that you actually have to recognize that, okay, this is now the problem, why you're doing the extra hours. And I have a personal example to share with this.
Let's do it.
I used to work in the corporate space because I've spent 20 years working in business. And in that corporate space, I had got to the stage I was working about 70 hours a week. And my daughter said to me, very cutely, because she knows how to pull at the heartstrings, she was like, Mummy, you'd rather work than spend time with me. And that for me, Matt, was like, that was the wake up. I went, right, because that was not my intention. And it certainly didn't want to be sending that message, because we do that work hard is the message we send. So I thought, actually, I'm sending the wrong message here. So I knew that change would have to happen, but that change was me. So what I started to do then was, and I was working in a real ambitious company at the time, they were scaling and they were, the projects were just incredible. And I was so excited about some of the projects. So in order for me to pull back, I had to start learning to say no. And that was difficult because they were exciting projects. So what I did was, in that moment, I associated pain, because it can help. We can, there's different theories on, are we pain adverse, are we more pleasure adverse? For me, it's the pain. So to support me in that moment when I would be asked, do you want to get involved in this project? I would go, if I say yes, it hurts my family.
Ooh.
Because that was the reality.
Yeah.
That was the reality. Bringing it back for me, it was like, if I say yes to this, I have to do overtime. And that's not what I want. I need to get that balance right. And I'm not saying that, work-life integration is different for each person. So the 70-hour a week might be fine for someone else, but for me and my family, that wasn't working. And that was my evidence of, I was working harder. Like, that was my strategy. Let's work harder. Get the hours in, do this. And there was negative consequences off the back of that. Like, I was sending the wrong message. So for me, that's why I'm quite passionate about, let's work smarter. Let's work smarter. Let's get your value up. And I did. I made a plan then. And I went, right, I want to work less, but I don't want to inflict any financial problems onto my family. So I got my value up. I went back to college. I done various different things. I found my purpose. I started to own my strengths. And off the back of that, then I started my business. And everything's history after that. So, and I do have that better work-life balance. I'm not down to the end goal, but I definitely have it that I'm happy with the balance that's there at the moment.
I think like coming from Northern Ireland, particularly I guess like pretty much everyone's grandparents were farmers. If you go like far enough back, but there was that real strong, like very like heavily religious influenced as well, where it's like hard work is seen as this very pure and ultimate and like refining thing. Mm-hmm. And part of me like still very much agrees with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just sold a business. I am experiencing more success than I've ever experienced in my life this very moment. Mm-hmm. And I'm working less than I ever had. And there is a part of me that's like feeling guilty or feeling like waiting for the other shoe to drop, if that makes sense, where it's like, this is too good to be true. Like, why am I not working 80 hours anymore? Blah, 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 blah. And I do think like that's why I brought up the Deliveroo example, because it is still very much in my head where it's like, if I'm not on that continuum you talked about, if I'm not either in the burnout zone or at the edge of the burnout zone, I almost feel like I'm not working.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And that's the common theme that I would hear along the lines of that work hard belief. And I think what you've just described is the perfect example of where that becomes limiting, because you're feeling guilty for your success right now because you're going, it hasn't been really hard. But the reality is it's probably the last 10, 15 years of hard work that you're now reaping the rewards of what you have today. So I think as business leaders, there's a point where you have to recognise that you've done enough of the hard work. The hard work is done. Now it's enjoy the fruits of your labour. It's that acceptance. So it's a simple reframe in how you're viewing it. It's not that it doesn't take hard work. There's enough evidence there to show that, hard work can definitely be an ingredient. But actually, you've probably done enough of that, which is why you're at the other side of reaping the success that you have. What do you think of that, Matt?
Oh, 100%. And it's funny to me because I remember when I was growing up, I would look at guys like, say, who would be like Richard Branson.
Yeah.
And you would see Richard Branson. I don't even really know what Richard Branson does, like jumps out of helicopters every day or goes surfing. Yeah. I heard something recently and it's like, Richard Branson's probably got a lot of like folklore around him by this stage. But it's like, Branson just hops on. He has like 1 30-minute Zoom a day and then he just does whatever he wants. And I remember growing up and looking at guys like that and being like, they're cheating. They're not really working hard, or thinking that they'd somehow like stole their money or they were cheating the system or something like that. And the more I've done this podcast, the more I've talked to, successful people, the more I'm like, there's a lot of people that live a lot more like Richard Branson that are successful than the guys that I worked with in Deliveroo. Mm-hmm. That, they were doing 10 extra hours of overtime to bring them up to 70 hours a week to pay rent. And I'm like, the economy doesn't work the way that I thought it does.
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
Yeah. And, I think we're sold that idea too, even with education. You're sold, get the degree, you get the good job. And then there's loads of people that they're still struggling. So I think it really comes back to your mindset. Mm-hmm. I think it comes back to your own thinking around it. Plus two, there's certain strategies will be more effective than others. And I think the real determining factor here is your drive. Mm-hmm. I think drive is actually the secret ingredient to success. And that might also show up with hard work. But it is a balance. I think it's everything in balance, really. It's everything in balance. So I look at my success and look at the coaching space. The coaching space is inundated. And I've had a lot of success in the last few years, but I do credit that success to the last 20.
Right.
I don't credit it to the last 2. I don't think, I've been lucky and I just happen to have got all these amazing clients and, things, it's just luck. I go, no, it's the last 20 years. It's everything that has accumulated and the hard work that I have done, including the extra hours I done in scaling, working in the scaling business, because now it's clients who are scaling that I'm helping because they understand the pains. Mm-hmm. So I can see links. I can see, as Steve Jobs says, you can only connect the dots looking back. Right. I can connect all the dots to look back and go, well, this is why I have the success I have today. Mm-hmm. And there is hard work in there. But there is also probably people who may not have the hard work there and they also have the success. So I think there's always going to be a small minority who probably can absolutely do it with just, it seems like it was effortless.
So those very pure entrepreneurs, I'm going to call them, who they're just, I do think there is like an intuitive entrepreneur, or there's a natural entrepreneur who, if they do young enterprise in school, they just get it. They're like, no problem with delegation, no problem with outsourcing, realize that if they do anything, like right from the start, it's just going to fail. Whereas the way I experienced it was like, I would do everything myself. I would never delegate. I would work harder than everybody. I would da-da-da. So I wouldn't say that I'm really a natural entrepreneur. I would say I have an entrepreneurial spirit, but I've had to learn a lot. Like, books have been massive in teaching me things that I know, even from being friends with an intuitive entrepreneur, where it just comes to them naturally. So for the people that are listening to this that are maybe not getting the results out of their life that they want, and that's pretty broad, like that could be career, it could be finances, it could be family. There's a Tim Ferriss quote that I love. I only heard it recently, and it's funny, I listened to Tim all the time when I was on the bicycle back in the day. And he said something like, choosing what to work on is always way more important than working on the wrong thing very, very efficiently.
Yeah.
And if I look backwards at my 7 years in business, if I was to do it again, I realized there was probably only like 2 or 3 buttons that I really needed to push. And I was probably pushing about 100.
Yeah.
So as a coach, how would you help people identify what the most important buttons are?
So I would bring it back to, what are your strengths? Because from my experience, I have found that when you work on your strengths and then link that to your purpose, magic happens. And it's because we excel when we do what we love doing. And then whenever you combine that with your purpose, it just gives a deeper meaning. So it then becomes more than just about you. So you've got that extra energy to keep moving forward. So my answer to that question is very much figure out what it is that you do best and work on that. And then align it to figure out your purpose, because not everybody knows their purpose. But when you also align your purpose, your personal purpose, to your business purpose, like that is really, really critical. That for me is one of the best motivators for unlocking potential. When you can actually align those two, because you are sure then, you know what you're about, you know then that it's aligned to the work that you do. So it just gives deeper meaning to your everyday life. But that shows up performance-wise. You know, you will see that performance-wise. So, so like one of the things that I found with the business leaders that I have worked with is that whenever they get that clarity, if there's had been any uncertainty, that then suddenly that's gone. So they actually, the power that they then are moving forward with is unbelievable, and that's enough to unlock your potential.
So once they get that clarity,
yeah,
it gives them enough confidence. You could maybe use the word courage to actually take the next step that will lead them to the next level.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And just one of the things, because one of the challenges that I work the most with clients is getting them to step away from in the business to work on the business. And with that, one of the challenges is that they're the best, they're the most knowledgeable person at doing the task. But actually, just because you're the most knowledgeable person doesn't mean you're the right person to do it. So this is an obstacle that I found. It's whenever, because they know it better than anybody, they're like, oh, I'm the best person to do this. Nobody else knows how to do it. But you'll never empower your team if you don't allow them the opportunity to practice and get better at it. So that is one of the obstacles. It's that it's your baby. You've grew up taking control of it, and it can be hard to release it. So the delegation piece is really important.
I mean, we found this with Best Belfast, Daniel, haven't we? When I started Best Belfast, it would take me 30 hours an episode. Now, there's a lot of operational inefficiency there because I had a Lenovo laptop out the back of my Deliveroo bag. Yeah. But, now, like through working with Daniel and working on the process, like this podcast has become like a pure joy to run. I come in to do days like this, a Best Belfast Day, and I feel like I'm on holiday.
Yeah. And you know what you've hit on too, though, is because obviously you're working to your purpose. I would 100% say that. And it does become easier. So it's easier whenever you're working to your purpose and working to your strengths. Like, things become easier. So when I look back even at the last 20 years, I'll go, well, actually the last few in business have been easier. There's no doubt about it. They've been easier. So, you know, there's so much in that because it takes more energy. There's a test that I run with my coaches. It's actually a cognitive thinking preference. So where does your cognitive thinking naturally go to? It's the HBDI, Herman Brain Dominance. So basically what it does is there's 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, which is blue, is your analytical thinking. The yellow quadrant is the experiential. So that's where your risk-taking and big picture thinkers will sit. And then you have the red, which is the people. So that's all about feelings and emotions. And then finally, there's the green, which is the quadrant that is all about planning and the execution. So the entrepreneurials tend to sit on that yellow because that's the big picture thinking. But it's about leaning into the areas. Once you're aware of where your thinking goes to, you're also then aware of where it doesn't go to so easily. But it takes more energy. So this is back to my point, actually. It takes more energy to lean into an area that isn't where your thinking naturally goes to. Now, it's not strengths-based, but you tend to find your strengths will correlate because what you enjoy, you repeat, and what you repeat becomes a strength.
Right.
But in the thinking in that, it's really useful to know then, well, where does your thinking go to, especially under pressure? Like, I do it with the business leaders because I've been under pressure, but where does your thinking go to under pressure? And with me, my thinking goes to the planning. So if there is a crisis or some sort of challenge that I have to overcome, I jump straight into plan mode. But because I know that, actually, I lean more into maybe it's a creative idea that will solve this problem, or maybe it's people's opinions. So it's having that awareness then that when you know where your thinking goes to, when you know what your strengths are, it actually becomes easier. And then you're aware of the gaps of where you can either, find somebody. So I use a lot of, I'll ask my clients who are really entrepreneurial for guidance and support at times because there tend to be a lot of yellow thinkers,
right,
which is what you kind of talked about there. There's that natural entrepreneur and it's the natural experiential thinker, the big picture thinker. Some people will find that very natural. Others, it takes more energy to lean into that.
Big time. And it's interesting, even on like a week by week level. I think the reason why I've experienced more and more joy, lightness, and in a topsy-turvy world, success is because on a week-by-week level, I'm doing less and less of the things that I despise doing.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely.
So like if you give the example of like the 30 hours for the one Best Belfast episode, that would have been like most of my week. You maybe could have done 2 a week if you were a maniac, which was. Now, like, I do what we're doing right now, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And so my whole week now is just doing this.
Yeah.
And that's allowed me to fulfill more of my life's purpose, which is to draw the treasure out of people and tell stories that matter. And so I get more reps on the interview side, which makes me better at what I do, which gives me more opportunities to interview more interesting people for more interesting customers. And then the whole thing kind of just like flywheels from there. So
what I'm hearing there is your business is better when you're fully focused on your strengths and you're spending your time on the activities that you do best.
100%.
I couldn't agree more because that's something I'm even starting to come to terms with because beforehand I'd be doing a lot of editing for the business. And one thing that I've come to terms with is the fact that as much as I've done a lot of editing, I don't enjoy it at all. And thanks to Matt showcasing me all the difficult editing that comes through with doing things over and over and over again and just stuck behind a computer screen over and over and over again, it really just helps you realize. And Matt's done a really good job with building a team of sorts so that now all he has to do is just come in, get the guests sorted and all that, and just interview them. And then here's me at the back of the desk doing something I enjoy here, which is just having these chats, being able to listen to them, and just being able to live switch and control the desk behind here.
Yeah, so really we changed a lot of our process where Daniel actually does most of the editing in real time.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Because I realized, and this was a problem, so like we use Colby. I don't know if you come across Colby. It's like one of these many personality things. But there's a Colby profile which basically talks about like someone being a quick start. So someone who's like really good, like fast in the moment, let's do something big, let's do something crazy, like whoa, typically like pretty terrible follow through or implementation. And so we ran into a pretty big issue about 6 months ago where everyone on the team was quick start because I just hired people that I vibed with who were all quick start action takers. And we were looking around like, where the heck are all the follow through people? It's like our business is like just like chunking along down the road. And so, but it's interesting you're talking about like knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Like when Daniel was able to know himself more, we were like, okay, well, like how can we change processes, change systems, change rules to ensure that like you're able to operate more in your strength.
Yeah.
And like, you won't mind me saying this, but like even just like what that's done to like our relationship or what's that done to like how we like manage people now is just so different because you're not putting a square peg into a round hole.
It just takes less energy.
Oh my word.
You know, even whenever, and in the past, I have been in roles or having to do certain activities that just did not suit me and it was taking so much energy. Actually, it was part of the reason for the overtime. You know, we get into the overtime. Part of the reason that I was working so many hours was because it was taking so much energy for me to do the certain particular tasks. Like I'm thinking about the board report. I hated just getting into the data analytics side of the sales reporting and it would take me forever. Whereas if it had been a strong strength of mine, I'd have been able to get that in no time, but it was taking longer than it needed to. So yeah, it's finding a who for the how.
100%. So I'm really interested in this idea that like hard work works until a certain point. Because something that I thought about years ago is that like we all are faced with a time barrier. Like we all have 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter if you're Bill Gates or you're Richard Branson or you're Elon Musk. It's like we all will hit a ceiling of time. And I do think like we would all agree, like some people have a different capacity for how much they can work. You know, some people, I almost like intuitive CEO types where it's like, yeah, 4 hours sleep, no bother, mate, like da 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 da. But my whole thing was like, you're going to hit that ceiling eventually. So does it really matter if that ceiling is 60 hours or if the ceiling's 40 hours or if the ceiling's 30 hours? You still are going to hit the time barrier eventually. So like what happens if you were just to like artificially lower that and then like build a business around that? And then you're more energetic and you've got more like creativity and you're able to actually add more value in the time that you're working because diminishing returns are massive for me.
Yeah.
Massive for everybody.
I think that's a great...
That's my phone.
Can we just...
Yeah. Can you go grab it? It's actually, I need to repark my car. That's what that tell me is. Should have done before. Mid-podcast break. Keep going, actually. We'll keep this in. This is a good crack.
Behind the scenes.
Hey, Siri, park car. There's my who for the high right there.
That's what you call smarter working.
Honestly, anyone who has an iPhone, like you can set up a shortcut to do pretty much anything that you want. So what that does is, I said, hey Siri, I don't want to actually say, I don't want to talk to her because then she'll actually do it. I also just actually called her she. That's very, very embarrassing. It automatically cancels my existing booking, starts a new one, and sets me a 3 hour, 50-minute timer so that I never get parking tickets ever again.
But that's a perfect example of working smarter. That you're now not having to go out and actually move the car. So, you know, that I think I know the working smarter, not harder gets bad press at times, but that's an example. You could have parked, you could have paused, go change your car, or maybe move the car. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Simple app, that's working smarter.
Yeah, and that whole, the smart not hard has been, it's been massive.
It really takes it back to the lean thinking as well. Like that's really, there's so many synchronicities there. It's that lean thinking.
It's just leverage. It's like the more you can like leverage everything, it's just, Siri is a form of leverage.
It truly is with lean thinking, especially because once again, it's about building out, like doing the hard work to build out the solid process to be able to do anything. Like for example, what you've done there, you've built out a process with Siri so that she can park your car just like that. We've built out processes here to make the whole scheduling of events and everything like that such easier and quicker. It's just that connection with lean. It just makes it so
Bro, you've just unlocked this whole podcast. So that is where, that explains it perfectly, because that is where I now funnel most of my hard work. All that hard work energy gets put into things to make things easier forever. So it's in the systems and processes.
Yeah. So when you think of the first work hard versus work smart, it's just what's the simpler way of doing this? Like that, or what's a quicker way, or better way?
And as you say, it's switching from working in your business
Yeah.
to working on your business.
Yeah.
Because if I was working in my business, I would be doing the 30-hour edit on a Best Belfast episode instead of making a shortcut on my phone. Or building out an automation for the editing system, or building out this, building out that.
Honestly, I would challenge my clients, because I do get resistance on this. 100%, it's ingrained in us, and culturally, you've talked about that farmer background, but culturally, it is in us. That belief, you must work hard, it must be hard. So I do have clients that would resist this, and I'll go, let's try it just for a month, see how you get on, and then by the end of the month, they're going, oh my God, I should have been doing this, years ago, because they start to see the benefits for them. But if you look on it as power of the mind, just reframe it in a way that's actually for your business. You are going to be way more productive. Your business is going to run way better if you make sure that you are having those on the business activities in there, and also then the self-care activities, because the self-care activities are really important.
Self-care is a form of leverage. Talk to me about that.
Because your creative mental faculty opens up in moments of solitude. So rather than sitting around the board table trying to solve a problem, go for the walk, the run, the jog, the yoga session, whatever it is, and that solution will come to you. It's very, very seldom that it'll happen in a scheduled time around the board table. So your business will benefit from stepping away, because it's you're just then you're thinking, then solutions are coming that you otherwise wouldn't have thought about.
Yeah, and that's where you get your big picture ideas as well, which are way more valuable than if you just have your head down in the trenches doing your thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, because once again, linking this back to another thing, I've spent like a good couple of weeks away from the podcast and all that. And from that time, spending time with family and all that, I've just been going on walks, and it's made me really realize how much I need to take care of myself more and all that. And just going out for walks, how healthy it is to be talking with family, sitting down just for talking, forgetting about the phone for a couple of seconds, throwing it to the side, and just having chats, going for walks. And I've met some really interesting people since then, some good friends that I hope to build better relationships from just like going out there and taking care of myself.
You got a wee bit of tan on your face as well.
Oh, thank you.
But you're a better version of yourself. Like, that's the thing. This is recharging. And it's so important to get holidays into the diary. And if you are somebody who is a bit of a workaholic, and let's face it, there's a lot of us are. So that's where you have to make sure that those times are scheduled. I'm married to a farmer. You talked there about farmer. I'm married to a farmer. So my husband would do he would work a lot, and he runs his own business as well. But I make sure the holidays are in there. Otherwise, he probably
Why
would
are
be happy
farmers
enough.
like that? It's like he's a farmer and he runs a business. Every farmer I know is like that. It's like running a farm is like the craziest thing in the world. And
You know
like,
what the answer would be from
do you
the
know
farmer?
what? See that government flip,
There's not enough
taxing
money.
all of our. That's true.
How do you go, well, if there's no money in it, why are you doing it?
Oh yeah, well that's the big button. You never push that. Flip me. It is crazy.
But it's like you do have to get it scheduled. Yeah, 100%. And like my background's in working with sales teams. Like, sales leaders can be notorious too for not taking time out. You have to schedule that break, and it has to be a full break. It has to be a switch off.
Right.
Because we can also get addicted into the personal development space. Like, it's so easy to go, all right, I'm going on holidays, I'm going to read these 5 books or 10 books, but you're still in work mode. Like, my opinion on this is be very careful, have that in balance, because you're still in work mode. When I read a book, I am absolutely 100% thinking, how can I apply that to my business? So I think it's important to strike that balance, especially when you're on holiday, that it is a bit of a full switch off if you can, or at least there's a portion of the holiday that you're dedicating to. You're not deliberately reading information and absorbing business information, because you're not switching off. However, your creative mental faculty will open up then. So you probably will still have those solutions and things coming to you. So your business will benefit just with the thinking that you're going to do sitting by the beach or by the pool.
Yeah. I have to admit, like I never would have categorized myself as this at all. And part of me wonders is, I think that I have become a version of myself that I thought I needed to become in order to experience success.
Okay.
And I really struggle to take time off.
Okay.
Let me be more specific. I'm really good at taking time off. I struggle when I'm off. I actually am someone who takes loads of time off. So I on average would take, 1 week every 7 weeks. So that's a lot. But when I'm off, I'm itchy. The inside of my brain is scratchy. And how I have medicated against that is I'll just read loads of business books and I'll get the notepad out and I'll be, by the pool or wherever I am. And I'll just think. I'll do all my big picture thinking on that week off, but I'm not actually off.
Yeah, it sounds to me that it's not a week off that you're scheduled. It's a week of actually working even on the business. That sounds like it's more of a working on the business week, which is probably a good thing because you're actually dedicating a week every 7 weeks to on the business, but it's not time off. So
yes, but the issue is I'll do this on family holidays.
Oh, okay.
And that's where the issue is, Yeah. And I'm someone who actually does pride himself on being present with my family and being a very involved dad and husband, all this sort of stuff. But it is I'm going through strategic coaches program at the minute, and they talk about free days, buffer days, and focus days. And someone just said, what are you doing on your free days? I love to read. And they said, what are you reading? And I was like, uh-oh. It's I'm just reading Traction for the 20th time. Do you know what I mean? And that really challenged me because I realized that on my time off, it's not truly time off. But I have to admit, I am very scratchy. It's the first time where I have noticed in myself workaholic type tendencies.
Yeah.
Because you'll love this. Whenever I say this out loud, it's actually ridiculous. I find it's if I just bang out 2 hours in the morning, I'm usually fine the rest of the day. And I'm like, what type of a drug are you taking, bro? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's back to my point about you have to be careful with it.
Yeah.
And I know this myself because I could absorb this stuff all day long. I love it. And I've had to pull back because I've seen it. It's I used to not even go I couldn't have went for a walk without listening to a book. Now I don't. I'm nope, I go for a walk and I don't have any music, nothing with me because I'm listening to just even nature as you're walking along. But then my thoughts, that's where great thinking is happening.
Yeah. I also think I'll give you one more bit of context and then I'm just going to ask you please coach me. I also the reality has been for probably 3 to 4 years, I've been the sole provider for the family as well. And the business went through all businesses, really tight times. And so I probably, and we could argue about whether you needed to, but I definitely had the mentality, financially, there were moments where I really, quote unquote, had to hustle to keep my family and keep my team and keep my business going. And I think now I'm in a place now where that is no longer required or no longer serving me. I'm having a hard time saying thank you for your service. Now you don't need to be here anymore to that particular mode of being. So how do I fire this person?
I wonder if you were to identify a fear in that, what would it be?
Until now, the fear would be that my wife would have to go back to work. Because it's my wife's dream is to stay at home with the kids, and I'm delighted for that.
Yeah. So do you think that still exists in terms of the fear that it's still there, that if you do stop, that she might have to go back to work?
Honestly, no. But I think I've trained myself to, this is my operating system and I'm having a hard time to delete that bit of software. It's kind of what I was saying earlier. I feel like I've become something that I actually am not proud of, that I think will no longer serve me in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of my life. And I'm like, how do I deprogram this while I'm still aware enough and young enough?
So it's figuring out what first is I will say a limiting belief that's holding you back. And what I've heard there, I do think it is that if that you work equals wife not working. So you working equals your wife not working. So whenever you're trying to pull back, subconsciously that's probably still sitting in there. It's driving the bus. It's going, but keep working. So it's now about creating a belief that's going to serve you. So what would be a more empowering belief to move forward with?
So I try to be someone who's very self-aware, and I don't know if it's that. Like, and maybe it is, and I'm just not at that level of consciousness. I'm like totally open to that.
Yeah.
But if I'm just being honest, I just love to work. Like, I love the drug. I enjoy the drug.
Yeah.
And I don't have any other hobbies. You know, it's like I don't play sport. I don't do this. I just like read business books and work. That's been my thing. And now I would like to have more than that.
Yeah.
And
So how would you like it to be?
I like the idea where I work when I work when I'm scheduled to work. And the definition of work that I'm using there is that my thinking time is also, I schedule in, as you say, it's like people call it founder time, people call it a bunch of different stuff where it's like, or even learning, like, you know, that I'll do my entrepreneurial learning whenever I choose to, rather than, oh my goodness, it's 4 days into the holiday, I'm going to grab the Kindle like it's a bottle and just start chugging from it.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's probably a bit of that addiction to a wee point
It
that
is
we talked
addiction.
about.
Yeah,
that-
100%.
that it is
I love it. I love the high. I love the buzz. I love the mind. I'm addicted to like ideas and thinking and constantly. It's that constant kind of motion in my brain. It's like I'm a real thinker, and that like constant turning of the cogs.
Yeah.
But right now it's basically exclusively directed towards entrepreneurship and work.
Yeah. So the first thing, and I think you have this, is that awareness of what's it costing you to continue working the way you're working. What's it going to cost, you know, your family, your team, and your business if you continue to work that way? So it's been clear on what that cost is. So that's given a bit of a motivator as to why this is something that you want to change. And then it's... So,
I'm definitely there. This is where I'm at right now.
yeah. So what could you do then?
Okay, I could probably pretty much the opposite of everything I just said. So I could take up some hobbies. I could like combine some sort of I'm going to ramble here, combine some sort of like a hobby-based activity that also brings me closer to my community. So like I have like 5 closest friends. I've known them since I was 16, properly like blood brothers. So it's like I could do stuff that's with them, and they're not entrepreneurs, which is very helpful. So I could build my community while also like disengaging my mind somewhere else. And then I think another big one is like, because I get excited about everything. Like I could just start reading parenting books, or I could start reading health books, or I could start reading books and consume content that is not in the entrepreneurial space. And I think that would give me the mental stimulation that I actually really enjoy. I don't know. We could also talk about this. I think for many years, I also thought that was a bad thing, like the need for constant like intellectual stimulation. And to the point, maybe it is. So I don't know if I need to work on that problem, or if I just need to misdirect it into something that's not work.
Well, by the signs of it, the immediate win would be to misdirect it. Misdirect it, because that's something that's within your control right now today. You know, you can go and do those things that you talked about. They are absolutely within your control. So what would be the obstacles in your path to you actually doing that?
I think actually just making the decision. So So I would take Friday, Saturday, Sunday off at the minute. And I think just the decision where let's baby step it, like Saturday and Sunday at the very least would be like business-free content, business-free thinking, business-free journaling. And I could easily misdirect that. I think that would be a really good first step.
That sounds like a great non-negotiable. The non-negotiables are those 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Done. I signed the contract. It's done.
Okay, you've got that recorded. It's good this is recorded.
Public accountability.
We'll need your wife then to follow through on that.
Yeah.
And is there anything that might need to happen for you actually to get accountability on that, to make sure it does happen?
So something that I have done a lot of work in, and that I have really good systems around, is my relationship with technology. So in the evenings and in the weekends, I don't have access to my smartphone. And that has been the one domino that has knocked over all the dominoes.
That's a really good habit, actually.
So it's the thought life probably is the hard bit. And who do you get accountability with that?
The thought life, explain that to me.
So it's me thinking about my business or coming up with ideas, because I can hide that from everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I'll not have a business book or a journal in front of me, but I'll be like swimming in the sea and I'm like, oh, but this.
Okay, so well, turning off that tap, I don't know if I know the exact answer for that, but it's looking at this, well, what do you control? What are the controllables? What do you control? So your brain is constantly, thinking these great things. It's important that you have a channel to actually feed that into. But the other thing I would say is, in this moment, it's really important that you start listening to thoughts that you're having, i.e. being able to jump in and interject. Because if you're sitting on a Saturday, you want to be going, look, that's work. Being able to actually interject so that you're moving away from it and then take your thinking to another place. So that's a quick win, but it's not overly easy, because we have like 70,000 thoughts a day. But it's a brilliant habit to get into. It's something that can really change. It's not just going to change you, helping you switch off, but it changes so much in your life, because you can regulate your emotions off the back of it. So if you are taking stock of the thinking that you're having, you actually respond instead of react. So this can help to reduce triggers. So this whole idea about taking control of your thinking has got multiple benefits. So it's something that's definitely really worthwhile for you doing. So if you think about it on the switching off piece, it's you do control your thinking on it.
Yeah.
So that is something that you can do if you can share that piece of insight with you, but it's not easy.
Sure.
So what else would have to happen? So you've talked about two things.
Yeah. On that note of the mind, like, I would do a bit of meditation, and something that I find very helpful. I don't know if you've ever heard this. I think they talk about like the monkey going up and down the pole. You ever heard about this? And so it's like, whenever you meditate, like, obviously, like everyone else, there's like a billion distractions and things to try to take you away from the mindful moment. And they describe it as like the monkey, like climbing up to the top of the lamppost. And then really simply, you just like in your mind, you're like, okay, monkey, now go back down the lamppost. And it's just catching yourself. And it's not like shooting the monkey or like kicking the monkey or like being very authoritarian. It's just like, so for example, it would be with me on the weekend, where it's like, oh, I'm thinking about business. Okay, business monkey, come back down from the lamppost. Go back. Go back to bed. It's like, we can come back to this later on.
So what you have now is a visual to put to that, which is great.
I like that. This is good.
Yeah.
So yeah, the books is definitely a big thing. Okay, so let's, like, if we dive in even deeper, then like the weekends, I'm actually pretty good. It would be when I take extensive time off, is where, because like the weekends are kind of funny, because, you know, by about the 3-day mark, I'm like dying to go back to work, or I feel like I've got like pent up business energy that I'm so excited to like deploy. So I've got a pretty extended period of time coming up here where I'm off, because we just sold the business, and it's like, okay, now we can breathe. So this all came at a good time. I don't even really know what my question is here. I guess I'm struggling internally with, do I try to pack in lots of activities in my time off that will still allow me to exert energy that's not business? Or is it a case of, do I do the mental work that's like, I would be the type of person, again, because I definitely did used to be like this, who could take 7 days off and just like be totally chilled?
It always comes back to the end goal. What is it that you really want? And do you want that 7 days of, I want to just step away and not even think anything business related? Is that what you want?
Honestly, it's not what I want. But as in, on a surface level, I don't want that, because I want to keep taking my drug. But on a deeper level, yeah, I do want that. I want to be that type of person.
Yeah.
Like, faith and spirituality is very, very important to me. And solitude and silence, and operating in that quiet space is something that I think is personally very advantageous. And that's completely overshadowed by, I also want to be very present with my kids and my family, and I want to be a good husband. And I think that I am a better husband and a better dad whenever that workaholic energy is like dialed all the way down on times off.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to switch off?
Not be on a laptop. Like, yeah, right now. That's what it means. Yeah. When I'm not working, I'm not connected to a device. And like I said, I have good practices in place that allow me to do that, but I'm still kind of cheating in my mind a little bit, or on my Kindle or my whatever.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is definitely a desire to be able to switch off, but yet it's a drug and you love it. So it's coming back to that part of really what is within your control here. What would need to happen? What are you prepared to do? Because this is within your control.
Yeah, so I'm prepared to do anything because I also love a wee experiment. So I'm game. Like I'm pretty game for whatever. And I have like I've got a good chance to do some good homework here because I've got time off coming up in the next 2 weeks.
And you talked about one of your ideas you came up with there was books, just doing different books that they're not business books. So we've got the different types of books. We've got the deploy the bouncer, to start to take control of your thinking. You've got your wee monkey image.
Yeah.
What's one more thing you could do?
I think I need to get a hobby or something, bro. Like something that's like.
So what could you do on holidays that would be different?
It's very good. So where will I be? What will I have access to? Something that gives me some sort of a forward motion progression that may or may not be skill based that I get better at, I think would be really helpful. Okay. So what are things
what does that sound like?
That sounds like an instrument or sport probably.
Well, think about your holiday set and you want to make this easy because it's your holiday time that we're focused on, like what's available to you within the resort.
The first thing popped in my head is, how long can I hold my breath underwater? 29-year-old man hospitalized after taking his new hobby too far. I will be at my wife's family's house in Germany. So, I mean, I could probably get a guitar if I really wanted to. It has to be something more than just like how many push-ups can I do? You know what I mean? It has to be something a little bit more technical than that, I think. Does anyone have any ideas?
It's interesting, Matt, that you had said that it would also be something that you want to be able to get better at. And I'm wondering, really, is that the high achiever coming out in you?
Yeah, possibly. Maybe it sounds silly to say, but I actually wouldn't even really categorize myself as a high achiever. Maybe I just am blind to myself. I just mean like I used to play loads of video games, like way too much video games whenever I was younger. And that's not a judgmental statement. That's actually, no, I like put in like 15,000 hours into video games. So it was like measurably intense. A lot.
Yeah.
And that sort of dopamine hit of like progression is something, it's probably why I like business as well. And so if at this stage it's redirecting that energy, then I'm like, yeah, probably something like that where I can see some sort of progress is very fun to me and very enjoyable to me. Or maybe I'm just deep-seated subconscious.
Because I'm wondering too, we don't want this to be a chore. We don't want this to be, I have to get good at this.
Yeah.
It has to be just switching off, just go and have fun.
Yeah.
Maybe holding your breath underwater isn't such a bad idea.
I've got, now I don't know if you'd have access to this at your resort, but whenever I was in Tenerife...
I love how Jackie's parents' house is now a resort. I love it.
I mean, hey, that's what you describe it. It's a whole resort, so
you're right.
You're right. It's time to cool your mind.
Come on, bro.
So for me... one of the things in Tenerife is that we've got the electric scooters and it was really cheap to use and I was just able to the first time it was really weird because it like the grip on your hands and all that whenever you're going over like large marks, it's something else. But the second time I was on it, it was really peaceful. All I had to do was just click a simple push a certain button in and then just steer. And it was just something calming about that, about just going all the way around, like the resort area that we had and down the beach area on a simple scooter that's electric. Just something so relaxing about that I just really enjoyed. And it's just a simple hobby.
Matt, I think there'd be value in you picking something that you're not like trying to get better at it.
Right, because then I'm obsessed the whole holiday playing guitar, and I've actually just even worse than being obsessed with business.
Yeah, I feel it's the high performer coming out of do. I feel it's that mindset.
My daughter's like, can we play that? No, I need to get this chord progression.
Yeah, I think just make this something that is a switched off activity. It's just fun.
Yeah.
How do you, like, tell me what you enjoy? And do not tell me reading books, okay? I don't want to hear that.
So my things are going for really long walks and going to the sauna. Those are the two closest things I have to a hobby. Those are my things, and I could do like silly amounts of both of those things because I love them so much.
Well, there you go.
Swimming in sea as well. I love swimming in sea.
So there's three things, because what you want to do on holiday is you want to do joy activities. You know, it's really important, and it's really important that that's in your diary anyway. So you can take those three and do them here and have them in your diary on a weekly basis.
And they are. I do loads of those things.
Okay. Yep. So on holidays then, if you did those three things on holidays, plus the other two that we talked about, would that be enough to have you switching off?
Yeah, it would actually. Honestly, I know we spent a lot of time on this, but actually I think the big unlock is just read different genres, you know, or like read fiction or...
The thing is, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Right.
And you have to be prepared that you're going to change this, because we could talk all day long about solutions, but it's actually action that reaps results. So you have to be committed that when you do get out there, you're going to do this, but also you're going to carry that through when you come home, because these are your non-negotiables now. And your non-negotiables are things that will guide you. I even talk about guiding principles. Have non-negotiables or guiding principles, or both, because they're your signposts. Get really clear on your non-negotiables. And so I wonder, is there another non-negotiable that you could create off the back of what you've talked about there? Okay,
so to summarize, the non-negotiables we have right now is, well, this was always a given, but no technology. That's for me. It's a non-negotiable because it's Pandoras Box.
Yeah.
If my mate texts me on WhatsApp, next thing you know, I'm in my business email, and then next thing you know, I'm taking action. So I just have to get rid of the box, get rid of access to the box. And now I've learned that non-fiction business books, or just business books in general, are also a Pandora's Box, but it's a Pandora's Box for my mind. Because as soon as I crack open the page of the book, then my visionary business brain goes mad. So no technology, no business books. Adding more of the things that I love, which is I'll walk a lot, which that's easy. I love to do that. I can definitely do that. Is there anything else I was missing out of the list we've created so far?
Yeah, the sauna.
Sauna, yeah. Definitely we'll do sauna days.
And the swim.
And the swim. Can I get a swim in Germany? Yeah, I can actually cycle to a lake. Look at that. Flex on the resort.
Day.
On the resort.
There's a day planned.
Day planned. I also want to make sure I can't sauna or sea swim with my kids. Yeah. So I want to make sure that things are inclusive that way. Something that we could do actually is we could get a wagon for the back of the bicycle, and the kids would love that.
Oh, that would build some memories.
They would love that.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect thing for Germany. Okay. And then the monkey mind. Did you call it a bouncer? That was funny.
Yeah, deploy the bouncer. I would say deploy the bouncer, stand guard to make sure that your thoughts are serving you. And then you interject when they're not.
Yeah, for sure. Like with those 4 things, I think that is a really strong non-negotiable list, I think.
Okay, how are you feeling now?
Excited.
Okay, good. Yeah. And committed.
Very committed, yeah.
Okay, great.
There you go.
Problem solved.
Link to Caroline in the description if you want her to do this for you professionally. So the mechanics of what went on there, like what sort of tools are you taking out from your tool belt?
Do you know what? Actually, that was a very simple one. My coaching sessions do go deeper. However, with that's it at its simplest. It's figuring out what do you really want. How do you want it to look? What does success look like? What's it costing you to not change? But then also, so what have you thought about? Because the answers sit within you. And I know a lot of the times you were kind of looking at me, so what could I do? What could I do? But really the answer sits within you because you knew that your joy activities were swimming in the sea. And so really the right answer sits within you. So we just unearthed that, you know.
Yeah, so you as a coach,
just dug it out.
you as a coach very rarely, if at all, will actually give an answer.
Yeah. I do share my insights at times, but ultimately the answer sits within the client. So
you draw it out of them?
I draw it out.
You draw the
Which we would be interested to have another session on the bit you talked about first, also about where you've now become this person you don't want to become. And so there's a deeper session there.
And in terms of other deeper sessions, so based on we stick to the holiday thing, like what's the homework or what's the thinking homework, you can say when my brain works, of like, would you identify, and I give you full permission to say this, and if I hate it, I'll cut it. Daniel will cut it. So
if I hate it, can we cut it?
those are not to devalue any of them, but they're relatively surface level.
Yeah.
If you were to steer me, is there any things that you would encourage me to think about that are maybe a little bit more deep rooted of why I am that way? Is it a personality thing? Is it something else?
I would probably take the coaching session deeper, and I just wasn't brave enough to do on the first podcast. But I do think it's a deeper session, and bearing in mind a coaching session is an hour and a half. I don't want to bore your listeners either. But I would go deeper on that. We can have a chat about that afterwards.
There you go. Cards close to the chest.
Yeah.
Not revealing. Very respectful. I appreciate that.
There shouldn't really be homework, though, in all honesty. Now, there's always action. The homework for you is go deliver on what you've committed to do. That's the homework, because my clients always leave me with action, but it's the action of the solutions. Go deliver, because nothing happens without action. So I could meet you in 2 months' time. You've got, I didn't do that. You know, so the actual real work starts from today.
Do you feel like we've become so obsessed with the content that I feel like there's just this like bubble of personal development where you just consume like crazy and you don't actually do anything? Yeah,
100%. 100%.
Why?
Well, I think it's easy to absorb. You have to make a conscious effort to absorb and then go apply, go do. And definitely my style of coaching is there's always actions. I'm very solutions focused because I know that that's what gets results. It's usually the success in coaching is what happens in between. So your success, even off what we chatted about there, isn't right now. It's when I meet you in 3 months' time, you go, oh my God, I am so changed now because I've applied all these things. I'm going for a walk and once a week, if these non-negotiables, I stick to it. It's what happens after the session. So it's the same, when you read that book, there's no point reading it, moving on to another one if you're not actually taking learnings and applying it.
Unless it's a non-personal development fiction book, in which case just enjoy it.
Yes.
How do you manage, we'll start to wrap up here because we are coming up on time. How do you manage accountability with your clients?
So I will get them to do a check-in with me on a weekly basis. So I will get updates from them on what they've committed to. And we keep close contact because it is a partnership. When we agree, when we start to work together, my program's 5 months. So it is a partnership to achieve the set objectives that the client picks. And then they're accountable to me on a weekly check-in, just see how they're getting on. Sometimes they need support, like you might need support in a week's time, going, I just couldn't do it. So then I'm supporting you along the way with that.
How do you handle, not the first time, the second time, the third time, but the 10th time where someone's like, I just haven't done it?
I'm going to be honest. There's a certain type of person that reaches out for coaching. And this person is ready. I'm very, very strict in that. I make sure I work with people who are committed because I don't have time to waste.
Sure.
So wasting my time, I have very little patience for people who don't take action. So whenever we do a discovery call, I'm making sure you're committed before I decide if I'm going to work with you as well as you deciding if you want to work with me. Action is engagement is key. So even if a company came to me and said, well, I want you to work with a team, I'll say, don't tell them they have to be coached or they're going to be coached. Let me talk to them, get the engagement. And if they're interested, great. If they're not, don't waste your money.
Right.
There's no point. You have to be engaged. So what I find is there's a certain type of person then that will go for coaching. And that's the person that's saying, I'm ready to be the best version of me. I'm ready to develop in these areas. They're already halfway there whenever they reach out for coaching.
It's very, very cool. And I mean, we know a lot of the people that you've worked with, you come very highly recommended. And it seems to me that one of your real unique abilities is to help other people really tap into their unique ability. And it seems to me, and I'm being intentionally very opaque and vague here, it seems to me that you also give people a lot of permission to actually lean into those areas and that they experience a lot of success around that. I guess this is something like a closing question for the person listening who wants to get more in touch with that side of themselves. What would you say to them? Any pointers, any resources, any homework to think about?
Do you know what I'm going to finish with? I'll finish with a question about your purpose, because my personal purpose is to support and empower others to ignite their happiness by living on purpose. So I'm going to leave your listeners with a question to help discover their purpose. It's a great question to start with. And that is, I want you to imagine that the world is a happier place. Not your world, the world in general. What is the one thing that is happening that's making that world a happier place?
Well, that's powerful. Yeah, because I immediately thought of my answer and it was immediately connected with my purpose.
Yeah. Within that answer will lie your purpose. Now, it may take a coaching session to really unearth it, because we dig deeper and deeper. When I'm doing my purpose exercise with my clients, we're digging deeper, but that's the first question. And it's a really powerful one. So reflect on that.
Oh, one more. Why 5 months? Why not forever?
Coaching's an enabler. So you're enabling people to, achieve these objectives. You can't become then a crutch. So that's why it's not forever. So, I do have a follow-on program then that I do offer my clients, but it's quarterly check-ins, and that's a different type of program. We're then doing it based on a quarterly focus. But it's very important in coaching space. Coaching's an enabler. You're empowering the person. So it's like, go fly. Go do it. Whereas it can't be that they're totally reliant on me.
Yeah, I think that's an incredibly ethical business model.
Yeah.
Because being opaque again, there are a lot of people in the being extremely opaque psychological sphere that it definitely does become that crutch and that codependence.
Definitely.
And I have a lot of respect and admiration for what you're doing. And I loved our time together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
For going to all those places with us. And like we said, there'll be a link to Caroline in the description if you'd like to learn more. And that's it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.